We should be able to use our beaches. We are a beach community. We are beach people. We're a small island surrounded by water.
Jamaicans can no longer access their own beaches.
This is where they work. Say they don't have a other job. They don't have nothing else to turn to.
Tourists can pay for exclusive access to beaches at all-inclusive resorts, but everyday Jamaicans are increasingly being blocked out of them.
When you push a fisherman from a beach, where did you want him to go? We are living in between waters, and we have no access to a beach.
Some Jamaicans are organizing to take down the colonial-era land laws that still affect them today.
Jamaican came into emancipation landless and homeless, and that problem have not changed in Jamaica.
And they're suing companies for cutting off their access to the beaches.
And we also will not stop until the entire Jamaican public is able to access the beach freely. Tourists are get beach, rich people are get beach. How come I buy, we have to buy access to the beach? That can't continue.
This is Steertown, a historic fishing community on the north coast of Jamaica. Local residents relied on the beach for their livelihood. But in 2020, two companies bought the land containing the pathways leading to Malmö Bay Beach.
Discrimination, apartheid team, we're tired of that. That must end.
The owners built a cement wall along the property, effectively cutting off surrounding communities from the coast. Lifelong fisherman Norris Arscott lives up the hill in one of these communities. Both his father and grandfather before him worked as fishermen at the same beach that he did.
All right, that's the hotel here, and the beach is just right beside the hotel there. It doesn't take me more than like 8-10 minutes from here to the beach. Now they push me off there. I had to do 10 miles each morning to do my fishing work.
To access the new fishing beach, Norris is forced to bike at 4:30 in the morning along a busy highway.
The entire St. Ann to St. Mary is blocked out from we, the fishermen. We've been paying taxes down there.
One of the companies announced a plan to build a 250-room resort on the land in front of Malmö Bay Beach. It will sit beside two all-inclusive resorts that already block access to the coastline.
Here they don't have fences. They got mountains of concrete wall. You can see that.
According to a local advocacy group's calculations, less than 1% of Jamaica's coastline is accessible to the public.
Me, personally, have no access to another beach. So we had no choice than to go where they push us. Me been occupying that beach for 70 years. Those beaches was like our playground. The culture was all togetherness. All fishermen, all children, everybody was together.
Even at 70 years old, Norris still relies on his income from fishing. When weather conditions are optimal, he can make a bit more than Jamaica's minimum wage.
Sometimes I catch just about 4 or 5 pounds. It depends on the weather out there, you know. 4 pounds of fish would be like for $4,000. So I go every day as long as the sea is good. What else to do? There's nothing else.
Minimum wage in the country is approximately $85 per week. In comparison, the two all-inclusive resorts that operate on Malmö Bay Beach can cost hundreds of dollars per person per night. Fisher folk like Norris often don't see the benefits of those tourism dollars.
I earn more money if I was fishing here. But what happened, I had to be going and coming to and from St. Anne's Bay to here to make $1. It's a far, tall journey to do from here at 70 years of age. They are pushing us back. This colonial system is coming right back at us. I'm sick and I'm tired of being in this kind of life with these people called politicians. Majority of them is no good in Jamaica.
There are approximately 74 public beaches on the island, but many of them are in disrepair, charge daily use fees, or are difficult to access without a vehicle. Damien Combs lives in Steertown, down the road from Norris. Since the beach's access was blocked, he has seen his neighbors lose their entire source of income.
So we're looking here at jet skis which have been parked, so to speak. Some of them are broken, some of them have damaged engines. They would sell rides to tourists or sell rides to locals. Jet skis put food on the table. The thing that the government will tell you, and these hotels, that they create jobs. They create jobs, but what kind of jobs? You're actually working in a hotel, which you will never ever be able to afford. You have all your independent people that did their own independent work and created their jobs that have lost those jobs. There are people that sell t-shirts, they're the fisher folk. Beach closing basically canceled all those jobs.
A grassroots organization called Jabem has started organizing communities like Damien's to fight for beach access. Jabem helps communities with advocacy, including organizing this protest and getting beach access rights cases into the courts.
They take our ancestors from Africa and encamp us around here. They give us Jamaican nationality. But yes, they look like they're giving us piecemeal. Because they want to tell us that we can't go over there. And up here, we are here to repeal a draconian law passed during the colonial era that says that we, as Jamaica, don't have any rights to access our God-given beach or environment.
Jamaica gained independence from the UK in 1962, but many laws from colonial rule remain intact, including one called the Beach Control Act of 1956. The law states that the British Crown maintains all rights to the foreshore, and that the public has no inherent rights to access it. While the monarchy no longer governs, this law is still the primary beach access policy on the island, so legally, Jamaicans are still not guaranteed the right to access the beach. In other Caribbean countries like Barbados and Aruba, all beaches are considered public property.
And we have a slogan in Jamaica, one love. But where is the one love for the Jamaicans? By our government.
Devin Taylor is the president of Jabem, or the Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement. He started the organization in 2022 after his hometown was cut off from the shoreline.
We want the decolonization of this land. And all these colonial era laws must go. They no longer represent the ideals of the descendants of enslaved Africans.
Black Jamaicans still face systemic inequalities rooted in British colonialism. Jamaica was a center of the Caribbean slave trade. The British government granted enslaved Africans emancipation in 1838, but they didn't receive any reparations or land. Instead, it was slave owners who were provided reparations for their economic loss. Voting rights were originally tied to property ownership, and so landless Jamaicans couldn't vote until 1944. It's estimated that nearly 20% of the country's population still lives in informal settlements without land titles.
The moneyed class buy all the properties along the coastline. They're allowed to fence their property. Now we're in a crisis situation. It's easily 35, 40 degrees today. My community that lives across from the road, less than 0.3 miles, cannot go to the beach. Tourists is monopolized. Comes off a plane, get into a bus, get onto a resort, never leave the resort. So money that would have spent in communities, no longer. It stays into multinational corporation that then leaves Jamaica.
The Caribbean is the most tourism-dependent region in the world. But according to the UN, approximately 80% of all tourism dollars spent in the Caribbean end up leaving the region. This has been experienced firsthand by Shaneka Taylor, who sells souvenirs and food on the beach of one of these resorts at Cooper's Pen.
Yesterday, there are 26 of them in the group. Yesterday, they take them out to shop outside of the hotel. They spent over $1,000 US getting t-shirts, clothing. So they said that they did not know about us here on the beach. They don't tell the tourists about us because the hotel have their own gift shops.
Shaneka and her fellow vendors set up makeshift stalls in front of the construction site of a new resort. But once the resort is built, they will likely have nowhere to sell. The construction already cut off local fisherfolk's access to the beach.
After the hotel is finished, I'm not sure what is going to take place. So we're going to have to move. And we don't know where to. We don't have a spot to put up our shops. We don't have nothing. So this is how we're going to have to pull down.
The tourism industry makes up approximately 20% of the country's GDP. But the Minister of Tourism has also acknowledged that the sector is known for low-paid, low-skilled jobs that provide little economic security. Access to tourists is often limited for Jamaicans like Shaneka, who sell food and souvenirs to make a living.
So the rules are 2 persons on the beach at a time, 20 minutes apiece. We're not supposed to go to the tourists where they're sitting. We have to stay at a distance. We have to call them to come to us. And sometimes they tell us we have to go in the water to walk. Makes us feel sad sometimes because we are not going to harm the guests. We're not going to do anything that's not right. But the good thing is that they allow us to walk. So we kind of appreciate that.
Many of the other vendors at Cooper's Pen used to sell their products from a shopping village. They say they have been forced to move numerous times since construction began on the resort. While they all rely on their income from selling to tourists, the conditions they face to do so continue to get worse. There's no longer a direct path to the beach, so they trek through mangroves to get there.
So this is our path, this is where we walk. Sometimes it's rough because when the rain falls, the water gets high, like about here. It's scary sometimes because we have to step in the water to get onto the beach.
It would be all like there, swamp, big swamp, you know? It used to be easier and faster to get to the beach. Where the fishermen, they used to access that beach. So it was a public, like people go there and buy fish. Kids, they come and swim. The elderly people come and take a fresh swim out in the ocean.
We worry because a lot of persons have been here many years, so this is where they get their honest bread from. This is their 9 to 5. So they don't have a other job, they don't have nothing else to turn to.
Jabem is currently helping sue the companies and government agencies that have cut off beach access from communities. It has 3 active cases in the courts and has 17 more it plans to file in the near future. Norris and Damien are plaintiffs in one of these cases.
We are suing to get access to our beaches. We're not trying to tear down the development or tear down the commercialization or the building space.
They built the case around another colonial-era law called the Prescription Act. The law says members of the public can continue accessing a beach if they can prove that they've used it for fishing, bathing, or recreation for 20 years without interruption.
What we're saying is that we've always had access to this beach. Our ancestors access to this beach. We are a beach community. We are beach people. We're a small island surrounded by water. We want the laws to change.
Jabem plans to take the Cooper's Pen beach closure case to court. While vendors aren't explicitly protected under the law like fishermen are, Jabem hopes that winning some of these court cases will lead the way to more permanent beach access rights for all Jamaicans.
We want to change it legislatively. We want it to be constitutionally enshrined that everyone in Jamaica have a general and unfettered rights to use our beaches. It's directly targeted at the black descendants of enslaved Africans. We feel that pain. And we are marginalized in 2023. We need a new model, a new framework, and we're asking for that, and we will not stop until we get that.